Hi everyone. So I did my training today with my John Maxwell with Roddy and Susan, and he focused on having John as a speaker and how to move up in your organization or how to make an impact in your organization. So I think today in North America and in Canada, we have a lot of layoffs, we have a lot of downsizing, and we have people being let go from jobs. So what John was saying is that today the average gets rewarded. When people do something, it's like everyone has to get the benefits, everyone has to get the prizes, everyone has to be acknowledged. And as a result, the people who are above average are suffering. Why would you want to stay with a company where your scores are above average, where you're employee of the month 4 or 5 times, and you don't get rewarded for it? Millennials today are saying, why would I sacrifice my mental health and well-being to stay with a company and work on a Saturday, work late, stay late, and I don't get rewarded, I don't get benefits, I don't get opportunities to use my skills where I'm being rewarded? I'm not going to stay. So I think John makes a good point that when we join companies, we have to stand out, we have to be willing to help, and we have to be willing to do it every day. And that's Jesus's teaching as well, that we do it every day. We don't say, well, I did that yesterday, and so today we can forget about that. We do it every day. And the other thing is that if you look at sports, right, when you go to play a new game or when you go to watch a new match, I'm an athlete. I don't play anymore because of my health, but I used to play growing up. I was captain of netball, captain of hockey, captain of swimming. I mean, whatever sport I got involved in, I excelled in it. And you don't go into a game saying, well, we won the last game, so yeah, this game, we'll just see how it goes. You go in and you say, I'm going to win. And we're going to win this game, we're going to win, we're going to make it a great game for our fans, for our team, and you get a sense of reward from that. So unfortunately, that's the way things have gone. When things go too far, good people suffer. So for example, I've been mentioning my setup has not been done at work, and they don't know why it's happening. They keep saying they've sent the email, it's not coming. So I've been going in and helping the new people, telling them what to do, how to excel, how to use their voices, how to understand what verbal cues are, how to understand how the company works. And because they haven't done my setup, the managers have said, we need to know, like, when are you going to do this for them? Because it's not just me, there's a number of other people that are being affected by the IT breakdown. And they can't give an answer. They don't know what the issue is. They can't set up a new ID for me because that's going to take 4 weeks and it's going to put me back to being a new employee, and they won't be able to carry over my benefits and my salary. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? So I'm waiting, and in the meantime, they're not willing to pay us. So my managers, because we have good managers, have said what we can do is we can pay you for 3 hours a day for the days that you're not going to be coming in, because we understand that we've given you a contract and it's not your fault, but it's also not our fault. So, that's good of them, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what's going to happen to me? Where am I going to be placed? What is going to happen? Where, it leaves me very uncertain of the future. So I think in light of that, my managers have also started putting feelers out for me for other opportunities within the company. And I've also been applying to other opportunities inside and outside of the company, because I can't put all my eggs in one basket. And I can't say, well, they're definitely going to place me. In the past, when I've worked at Teleperformance, they've told me, don't worry, because this is not your fault. We are definitely going to place you, and you don't have anything to worry about. While you're at home, we are going to pay you. If it takes us 10 days to find you another job, if it takes us a month to find you another job while you are at home because your last campaign ended and it wasn't your fault, we are going to pay you. They do not do that anymore. So things change. We have to adapt to our companies. We have to be willing to help. We have to be willing to do more than what they ask of us. I could have gone in this last 2 weeks and just sat there and not help my colleagues, not talk to anyone, not told them how I became the best of the best in my company. I could have done that, but I didn't. I went in, I helped them, I listened to them, I made friendships at work. So you have to be willing to do that. And if you're part of John Maxwell, you're already above average, because John doesn't accept people who are below average, who are not willing to work, who are not willing to excel, who have bad attitudes. John Maxwell does not accept people like that. And for me, it's a great blessing because I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm not from Canada. I'm not from America. I was not born here. I was not born in America. And so for me to be invited to join John Maxwell, that meant a lot to me. Yes, it was a high school friend, but at the same time, they didn't have to accept me in. So I think when we are evaluating companies, when we are evaluating how they treat us, as well as what we are bringing to the table, we have to be people who are willing to go the extra mile, but our companies also have to be willing to care about us. Because if they don't care about us, why would we want to stay there? And I'm sure Teleperformance would hate to lose me, but if they don't have another job for me, understandably, I'm going to move on if I get another offer somewhere else. They wouldn't expect me to sit at home and not be able to pay my bills, not be able to take transit, not be able to look after myself, clothe myself, feed myself, pay my rent. I mean, nobody in their right mind would expect me to just hang around saying, well, call me if it takes a year, it takes a year. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. It's give and take. In any situation, it's the same thing with volunteering. In the past, when we volunteered with HRPA as volunteers, when we volunteered at the conferences, at the big events, we were treated as special. We were the best of the best that got selected to help at the Air Canada Centre, that got selected to help at the law conferences. And in turn, they would have special tables for us, not at the back, at the front, so that when the keynote speakers came on for the events, we would be sitting at the front and learning from the keynote speakers. We got to meet the best of the best. We got to meet astronauts of Canada. We got to meet people who were on television, CBC reporters. So we were not just volunteers. Today, when you volunteer, you might get a t-shirt if you're lucky, to say you're an HRPA volunteer, and you don't get to sit at the front when the keynote speakers come on. You don't get to have the same meal as the delegates are paying for. You get a coffee and a bagel. Thanks for helping. We appreciate it. So there's a difference in how HRPA is managed today compared to how it was managed when I joined in 2003. And it's the same thing with volunteering with the One campaign. So with the One campaign, we were parliamentary riding leaders. We don't have those titles anymore. They were taken away. We're all just volunteers now. But I always will have that title because it was given to me at the time when the summit started. So, I think if there's no incentive for your volunteers to stay with you, and you're not going to give them any special acknowledgement, you're not going to make it worth their while, some of us, we pull back because we know we've got the skills, we know we're exceptional, we know, like I used to do the introductions for the speakers for the HRPA conferences that we held at the Air Canada Centre. I got to introduce big stars. I got to see people like Usher on the stage, not just at HRPA, but also when I went to the One Summit launch, they had a concert. I didn't know many of the artists, but I knew Usher. So I think companies have to reevaluate how they're going to treat their employees. And we also have to appreciate what our companies are trying to do for us. Because, like John Maxwell says, the world seems to have lost its balance. Today, it has to be for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're below average, if you're average, if you're above average. It has to be for everybody in the name of human rights or in the name of treating people equally. So what is the incentive for me to do a little more, or to help a little more, or to give a little more, or to say, okay, you know what, this is what I've accomplished, so I'm sure my company is going to definitely help me to get into the next level, or to get into those executive roles where I'm going to be traveling first class and I'm going to be doing all these things that I've worked so hard for. What is the incentive? Sports is different. Sports is different because if you have the talent and you beat everybody else, you outshine them, you outplay them, that's different. But when you're in a company, the company also has to evaluate how they're treating people. What's the incentive for people to stay? If you're only going to pay minimum wage, what's the incentive for people to stay? If your attitude is, well, if you don't want the job, go. What's the incentive for people to stay? If you're going to feed into people, coach them, nurture them, bring out the best in them, and build faithfulness in your company, then people are going to stay. But if they don't see the point in staying, if the IT breaks down and the client can't figure out what the solution is, then that's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. My company didn't do anything wrong. So that's how it goes. That's what we have to learn, and that's what we have to appreciate. And I appreciate those opportunities that HRPA gave me in those early years. In those early years, we got treated like gold as volunteers. And I appreciate that because I've never had that again. I've never had the opportunity to sit again in the front and to listen to keynote speakers and help at the events and learn at the same time. So things change. It depends on who's leading your organization, who the executive are. And the people who have been there longest will know exactly what I'm talking about. So I didn't get treated like, oh, you're just a volunteer, be grateful that you have this opportunity. No. I was like, hey, Belinda's here. Fantastic. Let's get her to the front. Let's get her the t-shirt. Let's get her transportation. Pay her for the transportation if she needs it. That's how I got treated. And in turn, I did an excellent job for them. So it's up to you. You can live and learn, or you can have an average company. Entirely up to you. Choose.